Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Deep blue sky, clear morning. Just a frost that we had. Ooh, I gotta put that in the wood stove, burn it up. Just barely frosted last night. Can't wait to get those on in the planer. That's coming soon. Get it in the planer. Well, it's been a fun weekend. Today is Tuesday, and it is still have not melted all the snow. It's supposed to get up to 62 degrees today, so should see a lot of this remaining sleet ice disappear. So anyway, this morning, dark and early this morning, said goodbye to our friend there, Peter, and he headed back home, back way up north, not quite to Alaska, but way up north. Look at all that ice that's still here. We took a little damage from this freeze, and I kind of edited out of the milling video because it just kept dragging on. But it blew. We had the valve open, and it still managed to get water in there and split and blew this pipe. We're gonna have to replace our trash trap. Kind of sucks. Hey, Smokey, what you doing, buddy? We did some fun milling day before yesterday. Went through four of these logs over here, and I'm looking forward to getting the rest of them up. With do another video with Marty. I got some more stuff I want to share with you about Marty, because this guy's got some pretty cool stuff that he does, and I know some of you might be interested in it because it's one of the nice things that we have as creators is our color and our creativeness. But you can see we did a pretty good number, got rid of a bunch of these logs, and we got some more big ones to go. But alright, so bunch of videos that I'm gonna be putting up today for you, maybe 5 if I got my count right. Maybe 5 videos. Got a little treat. We had how do I want to say this? A captive singer. Peter is musical, and he's not really the lead in the band. He plays in 3 different bands. So I got a little clip of that. We got a little treat before dinner last night, and that was fun. Little clip of the local wildlife population, which is he decided to take a walk one night, and the cameras caught him, and the deer didn't matter. They were in right before he came took his walk, and right after you'll catch him in the cameras, kind of like Christy did when she was taking care of things. And the milling video, that's got some interesting stuff in it towards well, I won't say where, but yeah, I had some fun on the mill. I boo-booed, and it was kind of disastrous, sort of, not really, but yeah, there's a few surprises in there. It was a good video, or good time with him on the mill. I hope you guys can enjoy that. And then I got one, I'm seeing some things in the market. I'll share that with you. But what I wanted to really do in this little quick chat is kind of share some thoughts with you that I've got with Peter. Matter of fact, all of the folks that have, well, I take that back. most of you that have come to visit, we have sat down and done some very, very in-depth discussions about what's going on in our world, the things that we're dealing with and seeing, and then quite a lot on personal journeys. So those of you who have come here and visited, we tend to sit down and talk about possibilities, ways to think around things and such. And so we did this with Peter, and that's one of the reasons he came, is he wanted to talk about his personal journey. So I want to mention something about that, because I've noticed a consistency in a lot of the folks that I know, and it's a condition that we all kind of have that I want to share, and it really isn't reflective on Peter as much as many of the folks that I've talked about, and that's simply this. Our social system and our matrix that we have been subjected to have been manipulated in a lot of ways. We've been programmed. Interesting. Really? Interesting that Mark Passio did a video on the programmable human, or the programmable mind that we have. I haven't had a chance to watch it, but I'm interested in. I can't wait to see it. What do you think, Smokey? What you doing over there, buddy? And midnight. And Shadow. I don't know where Mittens is at, but so what observation? An observation. Okay. This is something that I've dealt with, and I've kind of how do I want to say that? Conquered it in my own personal world, where many haven't, or I've learned to look around this in a way, and I've got a little quick story for you on it. But here's the thing. We have been programmed to be consumers, and we have a big issue in us in a lot of ways. It expresses itself in many, many ways, that human beings are controlled by the fear of loss. It's the fear of the loss that makes us do a lot of stupid things, actually. What do you think there, Smokey? You gonna mill out? He did pretty good while we were milling. He used to be really. You'd fire up any motor, any loud noise, and he'd take off like a bat out of hell. But every time we would shut down the mill and start talking, he'd actually start coming over to see what was going on and checking it out. He'd be like, "What you doing? I want to see." So fear of loss is a huge thing. And yeah, I know, set aside the changing conditions in our country where people are losing things because they haven't looked forward in time enough to know how to navigate things so that they don't lose things. But I want to make a general statement. The people in America have been extraordinarily blessed with abundance, and we all are in abundance in a big way. We really are, and we don't realize it. And one of the challenges that I've had with many of you that I've gotten into deep discussions about, well, how do I want to get here and I want to do this, and a lot of people really like where I've gone, and they want to incorporate some of these aspects into their world, and they see the reasoning for it, and so on and so forth. But one of the things I've observed in many conversations is we don't even realize what we have. Many of us have accumulated quite a bit in stuff, and we don't see the things that we have as assets that could be used to leverage getting where we want to go. as quickly as we could get there. So just some simple little bits of words that maybe might help you to think about your navigations, your changes, you're going to climb up the ladder. He's a ladder climber. He really likes to go up ladders. Look at that. Right on up you go. Going up there, buddy. Good boy. He likes to get up to high places. Piggies. What made them run around here? Good boy, Smokey. You got up there. Good job. And we don't take advantage of what we actually have produced and created and saved, and we tend to be in the fear of the loss of the things that we have, even though we want new things and we want to make changes. We don't see what we have as necessarily a way to do that. And when I was, I've told many of you that I used to do talks at prepper communities up in Montana quite a bit. They would call me in to talk about some of the engineering and structural issues that we deal with out here on the homestead. What you doing, buddy? You can get up there, but you don't see it, do you? Shadow likes to get up. Where's she at? She's over there. She likes to get up on the roofs. Every now and then I'll see her walking around up on top of the shipping container. It's like, how'd you get up there? And I don't ever see her do it. And I haven't seen her come down, but I think she's jumping straight up off the water tank. So, time is very short before we have the really, really crazy, massive change. We're dealing with a lot of change. There's a lot of change, and fear of change and fear of loss causes a lot of us human beings to freeze up and not want to move forward in our journey here. And Peter had a lot of really cool ideas, and he's like, well, what about this and what about that, and how would how could we have income? And I'm like, well, I see things different. And since T and I have been here, and because of some of the things I've journeyed through on my own, I'm, and I know a lot of you will have kind of gotten this from previous discussions that we've had, but I'm just not interested in chasing the dollar. And that's part of the consumer mentality that we have been trained to have, to keep getting more. Gotta have a job and go out and get more. And that's because we've all been trained to be quite slavish in our mentality. And I'm done with that, I understand the universe. I understand that you got to give in order to have things come back. You have to be a creator. You give of yourself, and then things come back into your world. But I take it in a more natural, slower. Let things be in alignment far better than having to chase them down with make sure that I have that weekly paycheck kind of thing, because there's periods that T and I go weeks and weeks and weeks without any money or any currency, I should say. Yeah, we have some stores, but there's weeks that we go with. There's been months where all we got was the 150 or so from Patreon, and then maybe every other month or so we'll get 100 from Google for the videos now in the last year or so. So we'll go maybe 2 months, 3 months, and only have a couple $100 a month to work with. And it doesn't faze us because we produce so much stuff here that it's not an issue. But a lot of you worry, I think, a lot more than you need to about having a continual income. And I know there's a lot of financial programming that we have. Set yourself up, if you can't have a job, set yourself up with a residual income, rental properties, things like that. You got to have this money coming in. And there's a reason for it. It's because you don't produce the majority of stuff that you need. So Miss Turkey, we need to go around and remedy that. So you don't need to have stuff from the grocery store every week or every 3 days, like we've heard about the majority of people, and when grocery stores go down at 3 days supply and that's it, So you don't need to have that. And if you live in this kind of more relaxed cycle of things, it changes your way of thinking. So I used to tell people to look at the assets that they had. And for people who were with lots less than the average, people who were living on a fixed income and like that, I always used to tell them when I go into these meetings, oh, she already went down. Shucks, don't have to go in there. I tell them, I said, well, look at the resources that you have. And they're all excited. Get back. There we go. So I tell them, well, what assets do you have? Because they'd say, well, I don't have the money to put away an ounce of silver a week or an ounce of silver a month. I can't afford that in my budget. Well, there was two common things that I would say, and that's, well, for one, maybe you consider creating something more, or basically, go get another job if you're on well, I can't do that because of Social Security, or I can't do that for this reason or that reason. I said, okay, well, what assets do you have? And one of the biggest examples I'd go with is, you got a TV? Yeah. Well, quit sitting in front of the TV, sell the TV and convert it to silver. Or go around and go through your house and find things that you could put up in a yard sale if you want to get some silver, or you need something else, or if you want some solar. What do you have? What are the assets? Because we in this country, even the lower income group of us, are far more blessed than we realize. What assets do you have that you can change or trade for this, for that? So I would encourage all of you, my friends on YouTube, to really reevaluate the things that you have as to how much do you really need them. Can you clean out your clean out your closets? Can you clean out your garages and things like that if there's an issue? And with assets that, and there's more than one example, so there's a couple of you that are going to say, well, you're talking about me, and well, I want generally across the board. If you've got, equity in a home and you want to change things and you don't want to be where you're at, more than once here recently, I've heard, well, I can't lose my house where I'm at. I got to have a roof over my head. I said to him, well, God will take care of you. Universe will take care of you if you trust in that things will be in alignment so that you don't have that issue. Very rarely, unless we fight the universe and fight things, do we ever find ourselves in a place where we really don't have a roof over our head. I did that for a period of time. And in one of my periods of loss in my life, I ended up living out of my pickup truck for a few weeks. It wasn't pleasant, but I did it. And I did it in transition from one world situation to another situation during my separation and divorce. It was not pleasant. So I had at that point in time accumulated a lot of assets, and I did what I could with what I had to convert them back into currency, so that I could use that currency to help get me to where I wanted to go. So for those of you who do have things like a significant value in equity in your homes, considering we are at the top of a real estate bubble at this moment, maybe selling the house first is what will open the doors to allow you to move forward in some of the things you want to do, because you want to make these changes for what's going down in the future. Realize what you have. Understand that most of you who are going to watch this video are actually pretty blessed. The real navigation is knowing what to do with what you have, and then having the courage to do something with it. So my last example, a little story, and I'm kind of going to be brief about it, not get too deep in the details of it, but it goes like this. During one of my low periods, when I was actually staying up in Michigan at a friend's place, here's Mr. Copper. Hello, Copper. I had, and this is right, I want to say after, it was right after. What do you say, Cole? They're getting bigger, aren't they? This is right after my second NDE, when I really hit bottom, and I was kissing up to my 9 in a very big way, asking the universe to go home. Okay, I don't like it here. Just let me come home. I don't want to be here. Let me come home. And I found, this is when, in 2010, when I found the Kevin Trudeau stuff and the Your Wish is Your Command, and the Ask and It Is Given books, and I started getting into that, and then it changed me. It changed my life. Well, at that point in time, I was stuck staying at a friend's place because everything had come down. My career had kind of come to an end, and I wasn't finding a way to, how am I going to get a job doing this? I mean, I go on and on about, all the changes that people are dealing with now and have dealt with the last 2 years, I dealt with in 2010. And when my mood changed after listening to the audios and reading the book, I had a trailer with a bunch of stuff, and I was in the process of getting ready to move out to Montana. I hadn't made it out to Montana yet, and I came out of the depression that I was in, and I started focusing on what I really wanted. And I was carrying along the best I could a bunch of the assets that I had acquired. I had a pretty nice, and bought it used, a 24-foot camper that I was hauling behind my truck, and I had a whole lot of physical stuff. I had a lot of solar panels and some equipment that I had in there because I was getting into that. I hadn't quite started up my company. I didn't do that until I got into Montana. But I was at a place where I had some pretty decent assets, all tucked away in this big old camper trailer and in my car. So my had a beautiful, awesome 2000 Infiniti QX4. Oh man, I love that vehicle. And the trailer, and then all the tools that I had that were packed in the trailer, the camper, and all my stuff. I mean, lots of stuff that was packed in. So I'm hauling around a lot of stuff. And I had made the decision in my head, and I said it in a weird way. I sat down, and I guess you could say I said a prayer, or I spoke to universe, spoke to God, and there was a part of my journey that I needed to finish. Part of it was getting out to Montana, but there's some other aspects I won't get into. But the point is this: I told universe, I said, God, please understand. I'm tired of where I'm at. I want the change. I am willing to trade everything that I have, anything that I can. I don't want what I had. I want where I want to be. Well, I didn't realize at the time the actual meaning and the depth of what I had actually said and prayed. But I was so 100% serious about it that I was willing. I'd already been through loss with my divorce in the early 2000s. Then I went through all the loss of my career and the loss of a couple of homes that I owned in 2008 and 9. I'd actually worked my way up. I was getting some real estate, and I lost all of that because I lost my job. So I had been through 2 periods of loss, and I about was done with it, and I really didn't care. And I said, you know what? Whatever I have left, take it. I don't care. In order to get where I want to go and do some things I want to do, I need some money. I need some currency. But things weren't working out for me very well. I couldn't see how to do there. I was running low on currency units, and finishing my journey out to Montana didn't look like it was going to happen very easily, because I was running. It would take a lot of gas to get out there, and I didn't quite have the money to do that. Everything was tied up in the assets that I held. And so there was a good sized lesbian community that I was connected to up around Lansing, and I'd made some good friends. And one of them had a little 10-acre place, and she said, "Well, you got what you need. You kind of can have your own roof. Why don't you come out to our place, and you can park your camper out there, and you can try and figure it out. Maybe get a job or something until you know what you need to do to move forward." And I'm like, well, cool. That's an awesome idea. So I went out, made arrangements, and in a certain period of time, came down to the point where I was going to move from the one person's place that I was staying at over out to this other girl's place, and that's what I did. And on the way there, I get within literally a few hundred yards of her little 10-acre patch of dirt up there, and I go down the hill with this pulling the trailer, and I'm almost there, and there's a bit of a dip in it. Well, the SUV hits the dip. Something happens with the sway bars. The sway bars come disconnected or broke or something. I forget what it was, and it caused the trailer to dip down, swing up, pull the back end of the SUV around. I jackknifed, and I went over the bank, and when I did, something happened with all of the stuff that I had inside. Everything rolled over. The trailer turned on its side, and something inside caught fire. I don't know how that happened, but it did. And I managed to not get hurt. I mean, because it was kind of in a slow motion thing. I was only going, what did you say, about 25, 30 miles an hour. I wasn't going that fast, but it just all pulled me right off the bank, and I was in absolute shock. I didn't understand what was going on. Trust me, screams of agony and tears were coming out of me. Oh my God, all my stuff, and it burned up, and I sit there and watched it. The local volunteer fire department showed up about 15-20 minutes later, and by then there was substantial burned up stuff. And my beautiful SUV, one of my most favorite vehicles I had, was totaled, crunched. And I sat there just up the hill at my friend's place, crying my eyes out because I had gone through all of this loss. Didn't realize it at the time, but I guess this was the universe's way of going, okay, you said you want to trade it all in. And, well, what happened was I ended up getting a big, fat check from the insurance company on that. And there you have it. Within the blink of an eye, and focusing on the loss, but getting what I wanted and what I actually asked for, it all happens. And when I look back on it, as much as you consider the loss, oh, it's devastating and horrible, and I had all my tools, and I had this and that, and photographs and pictures and memory, all the stuff that I lost. Well, I look at where I'm at now. I've traded things and traded things and traded things. And then, of course, the help from a bunch of you and the gifts that we've exchanged from each other, I've gotten here. And all that horror, all that fear of loss, I'm sitting in a pretty good place, folks. I'm happy. I hope you can figure out how to get around those issues of loss and realize that the universe will provide you with an open door regardless if the other one's shut behind you completely or not. The big question that we have, and the hardest one, and the reason why we all stumble, I think, the most on our manifestations of what we want, is we're not willing to let go of what we have in order to get to where we want to be. We hang on too hard to what we have, and that's why the universe gets mixed signals. So we have a beautiful world here, and most of you have what you need right in your hands, and you just don't realize that you can use it to your benefit. Anyway, this is going on way longer than I thought. 32 minutes. All right, so I got a bunch of videos for you, my friends. I hope you enjoy. Things are crazy. There's some turning going on in the markets. We'll discuss that in another video. Otherwise, I really enjoyed Peter's company, and of course all of you who've come here to visit. Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's a true pleasure. Looks like the girls are starting to come out. A couple of them popped out. It's kind of cool out here, but they're coming out. Anyway, y'all be blessed. Say goodbye, and we'll catch you again soon. Bye-bye.